stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.
Welcome back to We Are Mighty. I am LaTanya Cross, aka Mighty's Mama, and I'm so happy to see y'all. How have you been the last 2 weeks? It's only been 14 days, but I swear it seems like it's been forever. Thank you, first of all, to everybody who tuned in to my first episode, those who have given me the positive feedback, the subscribers. I'm actually surprised that y'all interested in listening to little old me and going through this grief thing along with me. But I welcome you along because it is definitely a crazy ride. I appreciate you all. I'm just going to start off with that. So again, we are here just to go through this together. I've been dealing with things I've never dealt with before, would have never wanted to deal with. But it helps me to be able to speak to you and maybe even help you if you're dealing with it. In just the past 2 weeks since our first episode, many people who I know and love have dealt with losses, huge losses, and I pray for you all. So the last time we were together, we talked about how people had given me self-help books and I had been starting journaling. I have this one book that I do really like, and it's not much to it. The cover of it says, "Dear son, I just want to say." And each page is just blank with lines. And so whenever I feel like it, I take this book and I just use it to write notes or letters to my son. At first, I was doing it every single day, multiple times a day, because there's so much that I want to say. And there's still a lot that I want to say. Some days it's easy to write in it. Some days it's difficult, especially if I'm dealing with something on that day or a memory has hit me. I sit down with my book and I just write a letter to my son, just telling him how my day is gone or how my week is gone, or the crazy thing that happened that day. There was a day, maybe I think it was like a month after my son passed away, that my husband was actually in a car accident, and I'm writing him all about it. Like, you just wouldn't believe what happened. It wasn't a car accident, it was a motorcycle accident, and he crashed my motorcycle. Somebody hit him though, not his fault, but still. Miles loved motorcycles and he loved to see me on mine, thought it was the coolest thing. So I had to, take a moment to tell him what happened on that day, how it all happened. But that's probably my favorite of all the books. And like I said, there's not one word typed in that book other than the cover saying, "I just want to say," and the back page says, I believe, "Love me." And that's it. And I just fill each page. And I think that's probably something that I'll look back on and it'll be helpful for me or helpful for someone else. I don't know. But I have my laptop with me today because I don't want to miss anything that I want to talk to you guys about. The first episode, I'm told, is the hardest. And I tried to go off of memory for that first episode, and I think I missed some things that I wanted to say. So I wanted to make sure this time that I had a little bit of a guideline. So I have my laptop with me. I'm trying to look all official for those of you who can see me. I know I also mentioned last time how people will say to you, "I know how you feel," and we know that they don't. And I do believe that people mean well when they say things like that, and not to negate the fact that other people go through losses. When I say you don't know how I feel, like I said, I know that you mean well when you say it. It's just when you're going through something like grief, especially when it's fresh, it's difficult to even hear, I know how you feel, because you don't believe anybody knows how you feel. You know the situation. You've gone through it. But to say you know how I feel, that's a tall order. That's a very difficult for me to believe that your feelings reciprocate mine. And speaking along those lines, I also remembered how in the beginning, I even had issue with members of my own family, dealing with telling them how I felt and then them telling me how they felt, as if it was a comparison, or even I felt like it was like a competition. I would say, oh, I can't sleep. I can't do anything. I can't move. I'm just sitting under his picture, and I don't even know. Hours will pass and I don't know where the time has gone. And a family member may say, I know, because I've had the same thing, but then it's worse for me, and I have the situation where I'm not eating, and I'm not, my normal activities, I can't participate in them. And I literally felt like they were trying to have like a grief competition, as if your grief should be worse than my grief, or it should be hitting you harder than it hit me. And of course, me, I feel like this is my son. I gave birth to him. I brought him into the world. And you want to sit and compare your hurt to my hurt? Nobody's going to hurt like I did. Nobody's going to go through what I went through. I brought him into the world. As far as I'm concerned, and I say it repeatedly, and you may hear it from me repeatedly over the course of this podcast, a piece of me has literally died. Now, my family has not had to deal with a significant loss since 1998. My son was born in 1999. So this was very big for us. This was devastating for us. And I literally got to the point where I was upset. And I would tell family members, and I'll be candid, I felt like my mom was competing with me because it was her grandson. And, well, I miss my grandson. Yeah, but that's my son. I get that he's your grandson, and I know that you loved him, but that's my son. And I finally told her, like, Mom, why is it that you're trying to make what you're going through sound like it's so much worse than what I'm going through? Why are you trying to compare your grief to my grief? Why do you have to one up me? I feel like every time I tell you what I'm going through, it's got to be that you're going through the same plus, or just a little bit worse, or it's hitting me just a little bit harder. How horrible that must have been for my mother, for me to say something like that to her. It was selfish of me. It was cruel of me, to be honest. But then when my mom replied to me and told me it's not about a competition, I honestly don't know what to say. We've never dealt with this before. I don't know what to tell you. Can I say, it's okay, it'll get better? You know what she said? I don't know if it will. Will it? Would those words really comfort you? When I'm telling you how I feel in response to how you feel, I feel like I am relating to you, not competing with you. And I felt so horrible. I didn't even think about it along those lines. Again, it was me, me, me. I lost my son. I'm going through this. I'm dealing through this. I'm not the only one who's dealing with it. Miles has an older brother. His brother was 2 when he was born. He doesn't know life without his brother. I have to be there for my other son. I have to be there for my mom. And it's weird. Excuse me. It's weird because when I'm talking to my mom and she starts to get emotional, I keep myself from getting emotional. I'm trying to be strong for her. I feel like in that moment, that's what I have to do. We can't both just be on the phone, a blubbering mess. I don't know why I feel like we can't. Because again, the loss is hitting us both. But when I'm talking to her, I try to be strong for her. When I'm talking to my son, my oldest son, and he's dealing with how he's feeling, he dealt with his first birthday without his brother. He told me, I woke up this morning and the first thing I thought about was my little brother and the fact that he's not here with me. My son's 27 years old. 24 of those birthdays was with his brother. It's difficult, and you never know what will trigger you, what will bring back a memory, what will upset you. I cry at some of the most random things I feel now. Even in what I wanted to share as this week's brief grief moment. My husband and I were in Menards. We were going into the store, and there was a mother with her kids. She was on her way in, and she put her son in the cart. And she grabbed the cart and she took off running. And her son was just hysterically laughing. I mean, he just loved it. And I'm looking at her and I'm smiling. And I remember when my kids were little that I used to do the same. I'd push the cart and run with them. I'd even do the thing where I'd let go of the cart and the cart would roll away from me and I'd act like I couldn't catch up to them. And, Miles just used to love it. And we're walking through the store and I'm smiling like, oh, look at that mom with her kids. I love to see parents interact with their kids that way. And I maybe took 3 steps. And before I knew it, I was choked up. My husband was walking ahead of me and he's looking at tools and we were looking for a specific tool. And by the time he turned around, I was in tears. I could barely breathe. And he didn't even know what triggered me. He's trying to figure out what's wrong. And I couldn't even talk to tell him what was wrong. And finally, when I was able to compose myself, I just said, I remember how much my boys loved those moments. How we always played together and I always had, my boys and I were just silly together. And seeing that mother enjoying herself with her kids became a trigger for me. I'm not used to this. I'm the one who plays right along. I laugh and joke right with everybody. How can something so happy trigger such an emotion? I thought about everything. I thought about the memories of me having that joy with my son and the fact that my son won't ever be able to have that kind of joy with his own kids. He never had any kids. He had a plan and he stuck to his plan. How are we to know he didn't have any more time? How are we to know that he would never get to the point of getting married, having kids, getting that house, starting his company so he could put his friends on? His friends were like family to him, and family meant everything to him. And he had goals of what he wanted to do, what he wanted to do for his family, what he wanted to do for his friends, where he wanted to end up, and he was sticking to that plan. Unfortunately, that plan was cut short. I've seen articles and stories where they say once you deal with grief, it makes you almost paranoid that something's going to happen again. And that has happened to me. And I hate it. I hate it. I can be thinking about, well, I want to do this in the future. Now I think about how people say, Lord willing, if I'm here in 2 months to do it, my birthday's in a couple of months. Will I see that birthday? Lord willing. Lord, I hope you allow me to see this birthday. Lord, I hope you allow me to see my other son reach 30. Lord, I hope you allow my mother and father to be here to see all of the goals and things that I'm trying to reach, even at the age of 47. It's so crazy how grief can completely change your perspective, your view on things. I would have never, prior to this situation, actually thought, will I be here to accomplish this? Will I be here to see this come to fruition? I assumed I would. It's surreal. I think that might be a good word to describe it. It's surreal. It puts things into a crazy perspective, and you have to keep yourself from constantly thinking of what can go wrong, of what may happen. It's like Murphy's Law. I launched my first episode on Miles' 25th birthday. I didn't know how I was going to be on that day, but it was important to me to have it launch. And much to my surprise, I actually was happy on that day. My son should have turned 25, and it was sad that he didn't make it. But I saw so many people once again show love. You know, I hate this new thing, Forever 24. I don't need a reminder that my son passed away at the age of 24. I get it. Social media, there's always something. I just don't like it. To me, it's a grim reminder. I'd rather long live his memory, long live his legacy, not forever, whatever age that person passed away at. And that's me. I'm a little bit old school. I'm not as big on social media as some people are, but there's just some things that when you think about it, that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for the people who are closest to them to think, yes, he passed away at 24. I don't need you to remind me, because I'm going to celebrate every birthday. When he would have been 25, next year would have been his 26th, and that's how I will celebrate. I can't say what would have happened up until those days, but I will say that we will keep his memory alive. We will keep him in our hearts forever. And I expect anyone who's dealing with loss to do the same. And I can't tell you how to deal with it. I can't tell you what to say. If you are a hashtag forever whatever age person, that's your prerogative, as Bobby Brown would say. I'm not knocking you. It's just me and my personal preference. It doesn't make me love anybody any less. It doesn't make the grief any less. It doesn't make it less sorrowful. You deal with it the way that you deal with it. And that's the beauty of being an individual. There are people who can't talk about what it's like for them to deal with grief. There are people who don't want to hear what it's like for others. I get that. I'm just here because if I don't have this outlet to release how I'm feeling, I don't really know what I would do. So I appreciate you tuning in to hear my thoughts, to hear my processes, and just the way that I'm attacking it. You attack it however you need to. If you have to sit and cry and cry and cry, which I have done, I won't do it on camera because I'm an ugly crier. Not saying that I won't get emotional, but you wouldn't understand a word that I was saying if I let myself get there. So I try to keep my composure, but I know it's not always going to be that way. If I can't drive down the street and see an empty ambulance, and this is a true story, an empty ambulance drive by me with the lights flashing without having a full-on panic attack, there's going to be moments where talking about it is going to trigger me as well. And I hope you allow me those moments. I hope you understand it's part of my process, because we know the camera doesn't flinch, the recording doesn't flinch. So you may hear or see a not so pretty side of me, but it's all part of it. We know that there's stages of grief: anger, disappointment, misunderstanding, not understanding, not accepting, accepting, back to anger. I don't think that it goes, here's the grief, here's the sadness, here's the point of being angry, then you're going to accept it, and then you're going to move on. That is bull. I don't think there's a pattern. It's just those are stages, and you hit those stages when you hit those stages. And again, grief doesn't just deal with the loss of a loved one. We're going to get more into some of those other types of grief in future episodes. Right now, I'm sure you guys know and understand what's at the forefront for me. 7 months ago, I lost my son. I'm here. I'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have guests. We can talk. We can cry. We can scream. I'm sure my engineer can bring the volume down so it doesn't mess up any speakers or anything. But we are here, and we are mighty. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it, as many people I know say. Remember, in all that you do, be true to yourself, be strong, and be mighty. We are here every other week on Fridays. Feel free to email us if you would like to join us at wearemighty, completely spelled out, WEAREMIGHTY 24 @gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to speaking to you again, and continue to be mighty.
They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.